Growing up, my relationship with my younger sister, Diana, was nothing short of a battlefield. From the moment we could talk, it was clear that we were polar opposites. I was the studious, responsible one, while Diana was the rebellious, self-centered type who thrived on drama. Her snobbish attitude and constant belittling made our childhood a living nightmare. She always acted like she was better than everyone else, including me, and her sharp tongue left scars that never fully healed. By the time we graduated high school, I was done. I chose to pursue higher education, hoping to build a stable future, while Diana dropped everything to move in with her wealthy boyfriend. It was a slap in the face to our parents, who had sacrificed so much for us, but Diana didn't care. She made it painfully clear that their opinions meant nothing to her. She was going to live life on her own terms, no matter who got hurt in the process. The tension between us only grew as the years went by. Diana's life choices became more reckless, and her entitlement knew no bounds. She flaunted her boyfriend's wealth like it was her own, completely disregarding the struggles our parents faced. Meanwhile, I worked tirelessly to build a career, all while watching Diana spiral further into her selfish ways. Our parents, torn between disappointment and love, tried to stay neutral, but it was obvious they were heartbroken by Diana's actions. The final straw came when Diana became a mother at 20, having twins and then a son a year later. Instead of stepping up, she continued to rely on her boyfriend's money, showing no interest in taking responsibility for her children. Our relationship was beyond repair, and I knew there was no going back. Diana's choices had driven a permanent wedge between us, and I was left to pick up the pieces of the chaos she left behind. Little did I know, this was only the beginning of a storm that would change all of our lives forever. Diana's life took a dramatic turn when she became a mother at just 20 years old. She had twin girls, and a year later, a son. At first it seemed like she might finally grow up and take responsibility, but that hope was quickly shattered. Diana's wealthy boyfriend, the father of her children, was her sole source of financial support, and she clung to him like a lifeline. But their relationship was built on shaky ground. He was unfaithful, and when Diana discovered his infidelity, everything fell apart. The breakup was messy, and though he provided child support, he made it clear he wanted nothing to do with the children. He even signed away his parental rights, leaving Diana to raise 3 kids entirely on her own. This was the moment Diana's true colors shone through. Instead of stepping up, she crumbled under the pressure. She had no education, no job experience, and no idea how to navigate life as a single mother. Our parents and I tried to help, sending her small amounts of money each month, but it was never enough. Diana resented her children, blaming them for her failed relationship and the life she felt she'd lost. She saw them as obstacles to her happiness, constantly complaining about how they were holding her back. Her bitterness was palpable, and it seeped into every interaction she had with them. The children suffered the most. Diana was harsh and neglectful, often lashing out at them for the smallest mistakes. She would scream at them for being too loud or too messy, as if they were burdens rather than her own flesh and blood. I'll never forget the look in their eyes when I visited. I'm scared and desperate for love. Diana was too consumed by her own misery to see the damage she was causing. She jumped from one relationship to another, each time hoping a new man would save her, only to be rejected when they found out she had 3 kids. Each rejection fueled her resentment, and she took it out on the children, telling them they were the reason no one wanted her. It was heartbreaking to watch. Diana had abandoned her role as a mother long before she physically walked away. Her children were left to fend for themselves, emotionally starved and constantly walking on eggshells. And while I couldn't legally take them away from her, I vowed to be there for them in any way I could. Little did I know, This was just the beginning of a long, painful journey that would test us all. Despite the bitter history between Diana and me, I couldn't stand by and watch her children suffer. The moment I saw the fear in their eyes and heard their quiet cries for help, I knew I had to step in. Diana's neglect and emotional abuse had left them broken, and I couldn't let them drown in the chaos she had created. Even though I was juggling my own career and life, I made it my mission to be their safe haven. Every visit to Diana's house was a punch to the gut. The kids were always hungry for attention, desperate for someone to see them, to care for them. Diana was either working long hours at minimum wage jobs or out chasing men who would inevitably leave her. The children were left alone, fending for themselves in a home that felt more like a prison than a place of love. I started visiting regularly, not for Diana's sake, but for the kids. I brought them food, helped them with homework, and listened to their stories. They confided in me about how Diana would scream at them for the smallest things, how she blamed them for her failed relationships, and how she threatened to abandon them just like their father had. It was gut. I wanted to take them away, to give them the stable home they deserved, but I was powerless. Diana was still their legal guardian, and without concrete evidence of abuse, the courts would never side with me. So, I did the only thing I could. I stayed close, offering whatever support I could give. My parents, too old to take on the role of primary caregivers, contributed financially, but it was never enough. Diana's selfishness knew no bounds. She took the money we sent, but still complained about how hard her life was, never once acknowledging the sacrifices we were making. The kids, however, were grateful. They clung to me like a lifeline, calling me whenever they needed help with school or just someone to talk to. It broke my heart to see how much they relied on me, but it also filled me with a sense of purpose. I became their rock, their confidant, and, in many ways, their real parent. But the situation was far from ideal. Diana's toxic behavior continued to escalate, and the kids were caught in the crossfire. I often lay awake at night, wondering if I was doing enough, if there was more I could do to protect them. The guilt of not being able to take them away haunted me, but I knew I had to play the long game. For now, all I could do was be there for them, one day at a time, hoping that someday things would change. Little did I know that day would come sooner than I expected, and it would change all of our lives forever. The day the kids turned 18, everything changed. It was as if a dam had burst, and all the pain, frustration, and longing for freedom came rushing out. My nieces and nephew had endured years of emotional neglect and abuse at the hands of their mother, Diana, and they had finally reached their breaking point. The moment they were legally adults, they made the decision to leave Diana's toxic household and move in with me. It wasn't a dramatic confrontation, just a quiet, determined packing of bags and a solemn drive to my home. But the weight of that moment was immense. For the first time in their lives, they were choosing their own path, and they chose me. Diana, of course, didn't take it well. She erupted in a fit of rage, accusing me of stealing her children and claiming she had wasted 18 years of her life raising them. Her words were venomous, filled with bitterness and entitlement. "If you wanted to raise them so badly, you should have taken them sooner," she screamed at me. But the truth was, Diana had never truly raised them. She had provided the bare minimum food, shelter, and occasional supervision, but emotionally, she had abandoned them long ago. The kids had essentially raised themselves, navigating the chaos of her life, while she chased after men and blamed them for her failures. When they moved in with me, it was like a breath of fresh air. For the first time, they had a stable, loving environment where they could focus on their futures. My nephew threw himself into his studies, determined to become a doctor, while my nieces pursued their passions in literature and cosmetology. They thrived, and it was incredible to watch. But Diana's resentment only grew. She cut off all contact with them and even stopped speaking to our parents, as if punishing everyone for her own mistakes. It was a heartbreaking end to an already fractured relationship, but the kids were resolute. They had found their freedom, and they weren't looking back. For me, it was a bittersweet victory. I was overjoyed to finally give them the life they deserved, but I couldn't shake the guilt of not being able to rescue them sooner. Still, I knew this was a new chapter for all of us, one where the kids could finally heal and build the futures they had always dreamed of. And as for Diana, well, she had made her choices. Now, it was time for us to move forward without her. Years after the kids moved in with me, their hard work and determination finally paid off. It was a moment of triumph that none of us could have imagined during those dark days at Diana's house. My nephew, who had always been the most driven of the three, graduated from medical school and became a pediatrician. One of my nieces earned a degree in literature and became a teacher, while her twin sister pursued her passion for cosmetology and opened her own hair salon. They had not only survived their traumatic childhood, but had thrived, building successful lives despite the odds stacked against them. Their success was a testament to their resilience, but it was also a reflection of the love and support they had found in my home. I had done everything I could to help them financially, emotionally, and practically. I helped them secure business loans, supported them through their studies, and celebrated every milestone along the way. But I never expected anything in return. For me, seeing them happy and fulfilled was reward enough. That's why I was completely caught off guard when they decided to express their gratitude in the most heartfelt way. On my 48th birthday, they threw me a surprise party, organized entirely by my nephew. It was a beautiful celebration, filled with laughter, love, and the kind of joy I hadn't felt in years. But the real surprise came afterward. They sat me down and handed me a check, a collective gift to show their appreciation for everything I had done. I was speechless. I tried to refuse, telling them it wasn't necessary, but they insisted. "This isn't about repaying you," my nephew said, his voice thick with emotion. "It's about showing you how much you mean to us. You gave us a chance when no one else did." Tears filled my eyes as I realized the depth of their gratitude. They weren't just thanking me for the financial support or the practical help. They were thanking me for believing in them, for being the parent they never had. It was a humbling moment, one that made all the struggles and sacrifices feel worth it. But just as I was basking in the warmth of their love, Diana resurfaced. She had seen my social media post about the party and the check, and her reaction was as predictable as it was infuriating. She messaged me, demanding that I help her reconnect with the kids and claiming she deserved a second chance. Her timing was suspicious, to say the least. It was clear she wasn't interested in being a mother. She was only interested in their money. The kids, however, saw right through her. They had no intention of rekindling a relationship with the woman who had caused them so much pain. And as for me, I knew I had done the right thing. The kids were thriving, and nothing, not even Diana's drama, could take that away from us. The peace we had worked so hard to build was shattered when Diana decided to take her grievances to social media. It started innocently enough, had posted a heartfelt message, thanking my nieces and nephew for their generous gift and the love they had shown me on my birthday. I never expected it to blow up, but Diana, always the drama queen, saw an opportunity to play the victim. Within hours, she had commented on the post, accusing me of stealing her children and now her fortune. Her words were laced with venom, painting me as the villain who had orchestrated her downfall. The backlash was immediate. Relatives and strangers alike began flooding my inbox, some siding with Diana and others demanding an explanation. Diana's narrative was compelling. She claimed she had made mistakes, but deserved a second chance, and that I was keeping her children from her. She even had the audacity to say she missed them, despite not reaching out once in the 6 years they had been living with me. Her crocodile tears and half-truths were enough to sway some people, and I found myself under attack from all sides. But I wasn't alone in this fight. My nieces and nephew, now strong and confident adults, refused to let Diana's lies go unchallenged. They joined the conversation, sharing their own stories of neglect and emotional abuse. Their comments were raw and unflinching, detailing the years of pain they had endured under Diana's care. They reminded her of the times she had blamed them for her failed relationships, the threats of abandonment, and the constant emotional manipulation. It was a brutal but necessary reckoning. Diana, caught off guard by their bravery, tried to backtrack. She deleted her comments and blocked us all, but it was too late. Screenshots had already circulated, and the truth was out. People who had once sympathized with her began to see her for who she really was: selfish, manipulative woman who had failed her children at every turn. The tide turned in our favor, and Diana's attempts to play the victim only made her look worse. In the end, the social media drama was a turning point. Diana's mask had slipped, and there was no going back. She sent me a final message, accusing me of ruining her life and turning everyone against her, but I didn't respond. She had brought this on herself, and I was done engaging with her toxicity. The kids and I had finally found peace, and nothing, not even Diana's theatrics, could take that away from us. We were a family, bound not by blood but by love and resilience, and that was something she could never understand. The final chapter of this tumultuous saga came with a quiet but resolute ending. After the social media storm, Diana's true colors had been exposed, and she had no choice but to retreat. She blocked me and the kids on every platform, effectively cutting herself off from the family she had failed so profoundly. It was a dramatic exit, but one that felt inevitable. Diana had always been more interested in playing the victim than in taking responsibility for her actions, and this was no different. For the kids and me, it was a relief. The years of tension, guilt, and heartache had finally come to an end. We were free to move forward without the shadow of Diana's toxicity looming over us. My nieces and nephew had built lives they could be proud of, and I was grateful to have played a small part in their journey. They had chosen me, not out of obligation, but because I had been there for them when no one else was. That bond was unshakable, and it gave me a sense of peace I hadn't felt in decades. As for Diana, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness for what could have been. She was my sister, after all, and part of me still wished things had turned out differently. But the truth was, Diana had made her choices, and they had cost her everything. She had lost her children, her family, and any chance at redemption. It was a harsh reality, but one she had brought upon herself. In the end, the kids and I chose to focus on the future. We had weathered the storm together, and now it was time to embrace the calm. Diana's absence was a reminder of the strength we had found in each other, and I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them as a family. The past was behind us, and the future was ours to build, free from drama, free from pain, and free from Diana.